This is my entire YouTube studio all on one desk. From here, I can record talking head videos, shoot top-down B-roll for product reviews, and even capture thumbnails, all without ever changing the setup. So in this video, I'll walk you through the gear I chose, how to put together, and show off its various uses for content creation.
You gotta just press record.
Welcome back to Think Media, Nate here. Now, I've been making videos in this bedroom for about 6 years now, and one of my biggest challenges I face is constantly setting up and tearing down equipment for different shots. And after literal years of experimenting with different setups, I finally landed on this all-in-one solution that allows me to make more videos in less time and with less friction. So in this video, I'll be breaking down this setup, and later on in the video, I'll show you some of its creative uses and how to set it up. But first, let's start off with the gear I chose for this build. The foundation of this build really starts off with the desk, and the desk I chose for this build is made by FlexiSpot, and it is a motorized sit-stand desk, and I really wanted the benefit of having both the option to sit or stand at this setup. This is the 48 by 24 inch size, which gives you plenty of room for attaching the different gear onto. Now there's also a 40-inch version, which is a little bit smaller, but that would also work just as well. There are many different color options to choose from. However, I really like this white version as it gives a very clean look, but also has the added benefit of reflecting light back at you, so it kind of makes your overall setup feel a bit brighter. I also decided to pick up these wheels also made by FlexiSpot, and these go onto the bottom of the desk and give you the option to roll around your studio, which is pretty key for this setup. Now, because we're powering lights and cameras, I highly recommend picking up a power strip and screwing that to the underside of the desk. That way we just have one cord going into an outlet, and also picking up some cable trays so we can keep everything organized. And by the way, all the gear that I mentioned in this video is going to be linked in the description down below for you to purchase, so that way you can build your own. Now, one of the most important parts of this build was choosing a good video light. I need something that's bright, but also look good no matter which camera I decide to use for this rig. So the video light that I chose for this build is my Aperture 120D. The reason I like this is it gets super bright, 100 watts of output, but also has a very clean high CRI rating, which simply means you're going to get a really good quality and your skin tones are going to be accurate. I also appreciate that this light comes with a remote, so I can turn off and turn on my light from a distance, as well as control the brightness, which adds to that versatility. Unfortunately, the 120D is no longer being made, so you could easily pick up the Amaran 60DS for a similar price point, and with that you could easily control the light with your phone using the Sidus Link app. In order to mount this light to the desk setup, it is a bit tricky because if you get a standard desk mount light stand, it's actually going to stick pretty far out onto the desk. However, I found this really cool desk magic arm made by Rabe, and this allows you to stick it out further so that way you can attach your light and have a little bit more distance, so that way your light is not sticking out onto the desk. Now you want to pair a Bowens mount softbox to your video light. However, if you pick up a normal softbox, they're actually fairly deep and also stick out onto the desk. That makes it very cumbersome. However, I found this one made by Godox, which is much shorter, about half as deep. But the great thing is it's about the same size as far as the diffusion goes, so you're going to get as soft of quality of light in just a much smaller design. Now that we have the video light set up, I'm really impressed with the overall quality as well as the functionality of this light. Yes, there are cheaper lights that you could pick up, but really you're not going to get the same quality or the same amount of softness, which is really critical for building out a YouTube studio. Next, we'll take a look at the camera setup, starting off with the camera rig, which is made by Terion. This thing is incredibly sturdy and offers a lot of flexibility for mounting our camera into the perfect position. Now, I've used other camera desk rigs in the past, but the thing you have to watch out for is that a lot of them will shake a lot, especially if you adjust the camera or shake your desk, the camera will move quite a bit. But this one made by Terion is actually pretty solid, and while it does have a little bit of shake, it's not nearly as bad as some of the other options. Included in this rig is the desk mount, an extension column, the camera arm, as well as a ball head to attach our camera to. And it even came with this iPad mount, so you could actually use this if you want to attach your phone or iPad to. In order to attach the camera to the desk rig, you could simply screw it on using that mini ball head. but I prefer to use a quick release plate so that way I can put on and take off my camera really quickly without needing to unscrew it constantly. Another accessory that I recommend picking up is a continuous power adapter for your camera. By plugging this into the bottom of a camera and the other into the power strip of our desk rig, we'll have continuous power running to our camera and we can record as long as we want, as long as we have enough SD card space. And this is one of those things that is a massive time saver rather than constantly charging or swapping out batteries. You just purchase this simple adapter and you'll never have to worry about power again. Now on the front of my camera lens, I have a mist filter, and this is pretty cool to shoot with because it kind of smooths out wrinkles and pores on your skin and kind of gives your highlights a nice bloom. So I really like shooting with this because it kind of makes you look a little bit better on camera, and I think I might need that. Now that we have the main camera angle taken care of, we're going to move on to the overhead camera. For this, we're going to attach an articulating camera arm that's also made by Terion. Now this comes with its own desk rig that you can mount separately to your camera. However, conveniently, you can actually screw this onto the top of our other camera rig. And this is perfect because it's going to give us more space on our desk as well as give us more camera height so we can easily articulate where we want our overhead camera. What I like about this camera arm is you can articulate it at different joints to really get it in the precise location. And for this, I want to kind of center it near the middle of my desk and also in the middle of my main camera angle. And I use this setup all the time when I'm doing overhead talking B-roll, or even when I'm presenting in front of the camera, I can have an overhead camera showing what I see from above. Now the camera I chose for the overhead angle is the Sony ZV-E10, the Mark I, the original. This is a little bit older, but it still has really good image quality for B-roll, great autofocus, and I can have this up and out of the way. Paired with this camera, I have the Sigma 18-50 f2.8, and honestly, I like this lens a lot because it can zoom. I can really change up of how close I want my overhead camera without needing to adjust the rig at all. This lens also has the benefit of having a really close minimum focus distance, which means you can get really close in on a product and it still be in focus. Now the ZV-E10 does have a flip out screen, which you could use to preview what your image looks like. However, you find yourself kind of staring up at it rather than kind of looking towards the camera. So one thing I highly recommend picking up is an external monitor, connecting that to your camera so that way you can adjust your shot as needed without needing to constantly look up at your camera. And the camera monitor that I'm using is the OCG7, which is a 7-inch camera monitor. Now this is a bit overkill for this setup, so we'll link some cheaper ones that we recommend in the description down below. But getting an external monitor is going to be so helpful for framing up your shots and making sure that you are properly exposed. In order to connect your camera to an external monitor, you'll need to pick up an HDMI cable, and this will be specific on which camera you use. But on the ZV-10, this is a micro HDMI, and I can simply buy one long enough that reaches to the end and plugs into the back of the monitor. Next up, we need to talk about audio, and you really shouldn't skimp on this because audio is probably the most important part of any video. So you could go with several different options. You could pick up a wireless microphone to attach to you. However, I really like having a setup that I don't need to constantly adjust. So for this build, I chose the Rode VideoMic Go 2. And this is a lightweight, affordable camera microphone. And from here, I can actually attach it to the overhead rig using this mini ball clamp and then connecting that to the overhead camera. This is what the audio quality sounds like from the Rode VideoMic Go 2, which is just out of frame right here. The great thing about this microphone is because it's so lightweight, you can literally just attach it to the camera rig with a mini ball head. You just tighten it on and you can place it just out of frame. And this is great because you can literally just sit down and record. You don't have to worry about miking yourself up or anything like that. One side effect to this system is if you move away from the microphone, you're not going to get as consistent audio. Another thing you could do is get a desk mic. So I have the Shure MV6 that I've been testing out right here. And I could just put this in the camera frame. This just connects through USB-C onto your laptop, which you can record audio from there. And switching to the audio quality from the Shure MV6, I think it sounds really good. I love the fact that you can get really up close to it and put it in the camera frame. Sounds good. I also love the fact that it has everything you need to get started. It has the desk stand, the USB-C cable, plug and play, and this is just coming straight out of the microphone, no adjustments required. It sounds pretty good. There's also a little mute control that I can just tap and it will mute my audio. So I go ahead and touch that. It back and I'm right back to what I was saying. You have no idea what I was saying. So this is what the final setup looks and what it sounds like. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Now I want to cover off the different shooting scenarios with this wonderful setup we now built, just to show off some of its versatility. First off is using it how I'm using it right now for shooting talking head videos. Because we have our light, the microphone, all ready to go. All we gotta do is press record. We have a nice surface to work with, and that makes it just really nice to shoot videos from here. Plus we have the ability to roll it around our studio and get different angles, and also we can choose to sit and stand with this setup. The second setup is to use it as an overhead angle for shooting B-roll or unboxings, or if you do lots of crafts. This setup is already ready to go. All you gotta do is turn on the camera, and with the lovely monitor I can see what I'm working with. So if I'm showing off this Canon camera, I can just quickly see what I'm doing right here, and it's just a nice easy way to get lots of great angles really quickly. Also, because we're using the Sigma 18-50, it's a zoom lens, so I can change up my shot as I see fit. So if I want to go in tighter, I can do so, and I can get really close and let it get in focus. And you get some really close up details with this by using this lens because it can focus so closely. So that's one of the reasons I really enjoy this lens for overhead, is because you don't have to reset your rig or move it up and down. You just simply rotate it and you have a new shot. The third setup is for multicam. So because I have two cameras, I can hit record on both. And if I'm talking to camera angle 1, I can directly respond. But if I want to highlight specifically something on the camera, I know I have a great overhead angle that kind of sees what I see, and I can point stuff out. This is such a time saver because you don't have to necessarily go shoot B-roll for every little thing. I can just put this in front of the camera, and as I present it live, I already have the angle that I need. Now, if you do a lot of product videos or top-down footage like I do, one thing you might want to consider picking up is these vinyl desk mats. These come in a variety of different colors, and they totally change up the vibe of your product videos. You don't have to just use the white surface. I can bring in this orange one, bring back my props, and I got a whole new vibe and color to my videos, which just adds a lot of fun energy to your videos. This one also has a different color on the other side. It has this greenish tone, so you can just easily flip it over. In a matter of a few seconds, you have a new color background that you can use to spice up your videos. Another way we can use this setup is if you are streaming or doing video calls, is to use your high quality camera as a webcam. So what you want to do is grab an HDMI cable, plug it into your camera, and then on this end we'll plug it into an HDMI capture card. This one is made by Condor Blue, and I've used it for over 2 years and hasn't failed me, so it works great. Just simply plug this end together, and then from here we'll plug this into our laptop. Now the capture card is going to recognize our camera as a webcam, so now we can open up a program like QuickTime or OBS. I'm just going to go down to New Movie Recording. By default, it's going to use the built-in webcam, but we can actually click on this little drop-down arrow and switch it to our USB video, which is our capture card. Go ahead, click that, and make sure you click the USB audio or use a dedicated microphone. And look at this. This is what we'll look like if we're on a Zoom call. Really impress our colleagues with this spicy looking setup. Now, after using this desk setup for a while, I actually realized there's one more really awesome use case for this setup, and that is to use it to grab clean thumbnails. So many of us are so tired after shooting that we forget to grab the thumbnail. We later have to go and do that again. Well, this makes it so easy to do so. And because we have great video lighting and a great camera perfectly set up, all we gotta do is roll around our little studio, find a clean wall, stand in front of it, and just do several different poses. And later we can remove ourselves, replace that background, and we'll have a really high quality result without spending more than a few minutes setting up. And the best part is, after you're done filming for the day, you can simply roll it over to the corner and still have a nice clean working space. So what is the overall cost of this setup if you're looking to build one yourself? Well, minus the camera and lenses, it's going to cost you around $900, which honestly does seem like a lot at first. But if you're looking at a similar setup, building out with tripods, light stands, more of a traditional YouTube studio, it's still going to cost you roughly the same, maybe a couple $100 less. But this does have the added benefit of being able to shoot a lot quicker, having everything ready to go. It is a massive time saver, and that alone for me has been well worth the investment. So that way I can keep making high quality videos more efficiently, spending my energy on creating rather than setting up. Now, I personally don't edit from this desk setup, although you totally could, but let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see my current video editing setup, and maybe I'll make a future video about it. But I'd love to see your setups and what you might do differently if you decide to build one yourself. I hope this video inspires you to create your own versatile and efficient studio that works well for you. And if you want to be inspired by more YouTube studio setups, we have a bunch of videos on the channel. You can check that out right here.